played 4 years of college basketball at Grace University, which is an NAIA Division I school. You won Defensive Player of the Year. You were an all-star in your high school conference. Can you tell me just a little bit about your perspective on the college recruiting journey from freshman year of high school to the graduation of college?
Graduation. So yeah, my journey honestly was like probably a lot of people's, not being like a high recruit. So honestly, it was just playing ball and finding out what happens next. So when I was a freshman in high school, I had, from the beginning of like playing basketball, I would just, I want to go to the NBA. So I wasn't even really thinking about college basketball. I just figured, you play basketball, you play good, you go to college, which, isn't the real way of, getting recruited, which, you find out later, which I found out later during high school. Probably my junior or senior year was when I was like, oh, I had no clue how recruiting worked. So, yeah.
What was the moment for you that I feel like every basketball player, or most, obviously the majority, have a moment where you realize, oh, I'm not going to make it to the league?
Oh,
what was that moment for you?
I remember that like it was yesterday. It was honestly my junior year of my junior year of college. Junior year of college, I realized it wasn't even like I wasn't like good. That wasn't what sunk in. It was like the passion for it kind of died down. And that's where it was like, I don't really see NBA in my future, which again, realistically, it really wasn't in my future. But that's when it had like hit me and I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like I didn't really know anything outside of basketball. So it definitely actually affected how I played, because again, I was just, I wasn't out there having fun. So I realized I got to the point where I like even talked to the coach like, yo, I'm kind of like stuck. I don't know what to do. So he ended up just telling me like, yo, just have fun with it, these last few years. And that's what I did.
You played, you didn't play AAU in high school, but you still got recruited for college, or you played a little bit of AAU?
A little bit of AAU.
What do you say to players or parents or coaches who are strong advocates of AAU, that it's a requirement to play college basketball? Do you feel like it is a requirement to play college basketball, or do you feel like there's other routes from your perspective?
Honestly, I wish I played more AAU, just because that's where you're playing AAU during, a time where the season's not going on. So it's just like really getting you ready for the season. But at the same time, the more you play, the better you're going to get. And the more competition you play against, the better you're going to get. So I didn't commit to AAU like I know a lot of people do, like, since they're like 5 and just, going up. So I definitely recommend AAU. I definitely recommend, being on a good AAU team that's for you, actually wants to see you grow and do better, not teaching you, crap about basketball, ones with good values and, actually teaching you how to be a person as well. So definitely recommend AAU.
Definitely. What do you think about the role of video? Obviously, that's something that we're very involved with, but from your perspective, what was your recruiting like in terms of video, and how could that have been different if you had more exposure with video?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't have a video. I didn't have a video. The only way I got recruited was because my team made it to the finals in high school, and a coach saw me, play and just kind of hit up my coach, which honestly sounds very lucky to me, because it was like, I had no clue how the recruiting process worked. I didn't know I needed a videotape. I ended up making my own video, not when I was in high school, but when I was in college, which was just to make one, just because I wanted, for memory's sake. But I definitely wish I had video during my high school years. I did have a game. I had a few games, but I didn't really take in consideration like, oh, I need to get more video to put this out to coaches. I just didn't know. So
well, obviously now we work with a lot of college coaches, and they get hundreds of emails a day from players, and they're contacting so many players. I think a lot of players don't realize that coaches rarely are going to be there at your game. And you were fortunate, like you said, that you were in the championship game. A college coach happened to be there, but that's not every player's story. So video becomes a much more crucial component, obviously, in that. What are your thoughts on college basketball in general as far as the levels? Like, I think a lot of players think it's D1 or nothing. Did you think that? And then how did you I guess, deal with that when you got to an NAIA school instead? And
Yeah.
how do you look at that now?
Yeah, so for sure. Honestly, I thought it was D1 or nothing too. Like after my senior year, after I played state, like before we actually went to state, I said I'm just gonna go to school and get a degree. Because we actually went to the finals, I was like, damn, I really love basketball still. So I'm like, I really want to, continue to play. So my coach ended up coming to me and was like, hey, there's a coach that's interested in you. You want to go, visit this school. So mistakenly, I love the whole experience, but again, I didn't know enough about the recruiting process. That was the first school I went to go visit, and I went there, which
Right.
I do not recommend. I definitely, view your options and really, educate yourself on the fact that, there are good NAIA schools to go to, D2s, D3s, and those schools, they still get looks. There's a lot of people that come from those schools that are in the league now, like guy from Miami, good three-point shooter. Like I think he went to a D3. Forget his name. We'll pull him up on the screen. Duncan Robinson.
Duncan Robinson.
Is it Duncan Robinson? I don't know. We'll put him up on the screen. But yeah, and then I actually even a few guys from my school had opportunities to go play overseas. One of the guys that actually played under me my senior year, he was a junior, of course. He was playing under me. He ended up his next year. He got his chance at opportunity. Probably the best player to come out of Grace. Like no lie. Like he ended up. I think he had the highest scoring record of like 70-some points in a game. So now he's playing overseas and making money. So shout out to my guy DJ from Colorado Springs. He definitely, became an expert at the pull-up jumper, which I'll take a little bit of credit for. But yeah, definitely college. Educate yourself on the different levels because they all have opportunities to make it to the highest level, which is the NBA or overseas.
You mentioned like freshman year, sophomore year, you didn't really know a whole lot about college recruiting. I think a lot of players are in that same position. What do you recommend as far as for freshmen and sophomores as they're starting to think about college recruiting? How do you recommend they start to approach that journey?
I think they should go check out hoopbrothers.com. They definitely, and not even joking, I wish I had Hoop Brothers when I was in high school because, again, it's just a map to really knowing how to get recruited, which at the end of the day, a lot of us don't know. So outside of that, if you don't have Hoop Brothers as an option, definitely start filming yourself and creating highlights for yourself, especially nowadays because it's definitely different from, when me and you were in high school. Like, you're getting paid now to be in high school and play ball. So the fact that you can, really with social media get more exposure and honestly become a celebrity at basketball before you're even in the NBA, definitely, yeah, best advice is to film.
What do you think the athletes today have to be more aware of in social media that maybe 20 years ago or 10 years ago we had to deal with a little bit because we had social media, but I think there's a lot more social media now. How do you think that affects the athletes today, and how do you recommend they look at that journey?
With social media, a lot is, I guess, like hype. So I would say always stay humble. Basketball is definitely a privilege at the end of the day. Don't get caught up in social media. Use it to your advantage, which is, I want to get more exposure. I'm not really, disrespecting basketball at the end of the day. There's a lot of kids that I think there was a trend of taking a half-court shot in a game, and I'm like, bro, relax. That's not your game. If a coach saw that, who gives a crap about social media? You just literally probably ruined your chance of because you're just showing that you're not really coachable or disciplined because you're following social media, which I think a lot of kids these days have to be careful for because it can lead you in the wrong direction, which there's plenty of proof of that. So
yeah, your social media is your resume for basketball, and so if you're not aware of what you're posting and how a college coach is viewing that, you're just posting it for the hype, you're posting it for your friends, you're posting it for the fame of I did this cool move, but you're not thinking about the receiving end of that from a college coach's eyes, how are they looking at that? Are you just a player that's showboating? What do you actually care about? They're going to look at your character, and they're going to say, are you a player that's just about hype, or are you a player that's going to contribute to winning?
Yeah.
And so there's only 5% of high school basketball players that play in college. To separate yourself, you have to do everything right. You have to make sure that you're checking every box. And so it's a competitive process, as it should be. And definitely making sure their social media is something that a college coach can look at and have respect for.
For sure. Yeah. Don't be on there, sticking the middle finger up, smoking weed or whatever. Like, they definitely see that. So keep it clean, because if you're looking to get recruited, that's probably the first thing they're going to look at is your social media. So
100%.
Yeah.